Welcome to the WSO Weekly Wrap-Up, where I talk with my team about the 5 most trending discussions in the Wall Street Oasis community. Enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome to the second weekly wrap-up call. We are going to quickly go through, I think, the top 4 this week over the next kind of 20-ish minutes, just trying to cover our opinions, our thoughts of some of the most controversial and interesting discussions happening on the WSO forums. So, Matt, go ahead and kick us off.
Perfect. All right, guys, excited for this week here. We got 4 interesting topics. First and foremost here, is it just me or PE associates getting garbage these days? Within this topic, we saw some pretty interesting responses here. They're highlighting that this problem is especially prevalent within the last 2 classes of hires, and that there's been a lot of dud associates now again. But I think it's just from the we're assuming that might just be aggressive, borderline, or even just hostile attitude from some of these individuals that are joining the firm. So, Pat, lead us off here. What are your thoughts on the quality of PE associates?
I mean, we've been hearing a lot of this, not just in private equity, but investment banking. A lot of these kids coming in, I think, never really had the in-office kind of experience and the mentorship that a lot of people get in banking. And so they're hired, they come out of undergrad, they're basically given a job almost 2 years ahead in advance. So they have less incentive to work hard in banking, number one. Number two, they don't have those modeling skills. They're coming in. They don't have that mentorship. They don't really, if they're forced to go back in the office, it's a little more awkward. And yeah, a lot of them just don't have their heart in it. They've been following kind of the path, and they find themselves in the promised land of private equity, but not really wanting it. And so I think we're seeing a lot of people complaining about this. I know we did see some people kind of taking a different angle. I don't know if Nabil, you want to talk about that or Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it depends really, right? Like the other side is the manager, like the one who's being an asshole or whatever. I don't know really, but like B and IB like usually are known for having these hard bosses, right? The ones who push you around, I guess. So I wouldn't like lean in too much and say it's the boss. I mean, it's kind of expected.
Investment bankers, they tell you when you can go to the bathroom. Private equity, they kind of leave you alone, but like it's more cutthroat in a way. It's like a more quietly cutthroat.
And I think that's the thing, because there's not those guardrails there in PE, and a lot of these people coming from IB don't have those battle wounds, so to speak, because they're either getting the offer to join PE within, we've even heard, Pat, from some of the calls that we've had with our business clients, within like 8 months, some of these kids are already getting potions. Sometimes even like if it's a top Ivy League school, they're getting offers for PE before they even start their IB job. So I think it's like the lack of battle wounds, or just the failures that come from a new job in IB that is inevitable. And just not learning those skills and those traits that obviously then don't get passed on throughout other careers you may have, of which PE is typically one of them.
Exactly.
Do you think that joiners should have the opportunity to shine at work and to handle challenging assignments and the project that allow them to take more responsibility and to demonstrate their abilities?
I think so. Yeah, ideally, yes. I think the issue is what the VP is complaining about here is that they have an entitled attitude, but they don't actually have follow through.
Well, that's Gen Z for you, Pat.
Aren't you part of Gen Z, Matt? Aren't you part of Gen Z?
No, I'm.
You're out of it?
Yeah, I'm definitely not Gen Z.
You're close though, right?
94, yeah. So not Gen Z.
I'm Gen Z, so.
Nabil.
Yeah. 97.
Anyways, so we can move on.
Yeah, nonetheless, great combo there, guys. So second trending topic that we were seeing in the forums this week: what are the key lessons from Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley layoffs? Again, what we've been seeing for some comments from some top users, that these layoffs were not performance related at all, and they also weren't receiving bonuses after working pretty diligently for 12 months straight, which could definitely be frustrating. So Pat, you want to give your insight on that one there?
First off, they're never going to tell you it's performance related, because they're going to like try to lessen the blow and make it feel a little bit better. Number two, in terms of like the bonuses not getting paid out, that does really suck, because even though bonuses are not required, in banking, it's one of those ones where everyone knows you're putting in the super long hours for that bonus and for that thing. So I think it's pretty cold to do it right before, or at least not pay out like a low bonus to them or something lower, like to pay a zero or what they call a donut in the industry is rough.
I know it's not, I know bonuses are never like, it's never a contractual obligation, but I will say, I think within the banking realm, bonuses are like most common. You know, other jobs people do get bonuses, but that's more like if the business really crushes it. Like if you're in, you know, a retail business or whatever other, you know, career you may have. But I think within banking specifically, it almost is like bonuses are entitled. So I think if you are putting up a donut for people, that definitely pisses people off, and it's going to, I think, stick with that firm for a bit because the industry's small from what we know. And when we're having our calls or just interacting in the forums, there's a lot of people know a lot of people within Wall Street. Wall Street's big, but it's also very small.
I think people got so pissed they even put something on the forums like, is Goldman even a bulge bracket even anymore?
That would definitely piss off a lot of people.
Go ahead.
Yeah, do you guys think they're able to like pull it off because of the brand name? Like people still, I mean, it's Goldman and MS, so like do whatever. People still keep applying, still want to get in for the brand name.
Yeah, I think that won't. I mean, one bad year of maybe no bonuses won't do that much.
Yeah, the layoffs are everywhere. Like everyone's taking advantage. Even Google on the tech side is like taking advantage.
Yeah,
just like using this opportunity.
Well, you know, a good response I actually saw is it's all about risk reward. I think at the end of the day, from like a career level. So obviously, in good times, bankers get paid boatloads of money. But then in bad times, obviously, again, I don't agree with the zero, but maybe Pat, like what you said, a smaller bonus just to at least acknowledge some work. So even if it's, you know, like 15% of what your full bonus would have been, whatever. Yeah. But also I think people do have to take a step back and understand that there is the risk reward. You know, you're in a high risk career. So the payoff's larger.
I mean, what do you think about the severance though? I mean, I think they all got pretty good severance. It's kind of like a bonus being paid out over several months anyways. But I guess it just the optics of it look bad when it's a zero, and it's like, oh yeah, but
and also just coming off the back of what like a 12-year bull market when everything's been good. So a lot of these people forget what it was like in 07 and 08, and then in tough times prior because we haven't had a lot of tough times
for a long time
for the past decade or so. But great, okay, cool. Let's move on, guys. Let's keep it fresh here. Third trending topic of the week, Sarah, this one's coming your way here. Are the hours in banking dangerous, and how do you manage sleep deprivation? Some people were mentioning in the forums again that, you know, is it asking the question, which is absolutely ludicrous, is it physically dangerous to sleep for less than 5 hours a week? 5 hours a day during the week, and that some people are staying up typically to 3 to 4 a.m. On a daily basis. So Sarah, what are your thoughts on how to manage sleep deprivation, and are the hours overall dangerous in banking?
I think no one can persist for years if this is the case. I think they should maintain work-life balance and be more organized in their tasks to work efficiently.
Definitely easier said than done, I would say. Pat, I know you spent a couple of years in banking. What were some tips that you could provide everyone?
I had a pillow at my desk. I would sleep under my desk. I'm not joking. When needed, even to the point where sometimes when I was waiting for turns at like 2 or 3 in the morning, I'd take my pillow and go into one of the MD's offices and lay down because one of them had a couch. And so
I was going to nicer offices.
Yeah, but you gotta put your ringer. I'd have the door open. I'd put my ringer on my phone all the way up, on both my cell and my office phone, so that I'd wake up if it started ringing.
Did MD ever come in and catch you sleeping on the couch?
No.
Or has that ever happened to anyone else at the firm?
No, but I have slept in a stall too, in his toilet, just sitting on the toilet, not even going to the bathroom, just sitting there. Yeah, it was sleep deprivation's tough. I remember I worked a 41-hour day, so basically was in the office for 41 hours straight. And then usually the bad days were like 20 hours straight, 30 hours was really bad. But one time I didn't go to home for like 2 all-nighters in a row. And that at that point, by the end, you're kind of delusional and like drunk. You act like a drunk person, basically. You have the impulse control of a drunk person. So it's like, you can imagine how useful you are at that point. And everyone's like, just go home. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are. Nabil works pretty long hours. He stays up at insane. So maybe Nabil, you tell
I
us.
mean, getting some naps, right? Like during the day, that's what works for me always. Just like whenever you can get those small naps in, so you're like a little fresh.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, even if you can't get like the long 8-hour sleep or whatever that people keep talking about, just getting like these.
I've jumped on that trend, Nabil, with the naps. I've been taking, I do like a nice 20-minute power nap, and been doing it now for maybe about a year. I love it. I typically do a little bit later in my evenings because then it gives me that extra juice at night to keep pumping out some stuff.
You have trouble getting to bed though if you do that late nap?
No, actually. Well, I mean, I go to bed pretty late, but I think that's just me. Like I'm one of those people now. I've actually become pretty productive in the later hours of the night because I think it's just quiet. It's just to myself, and I could really pump out some good work then.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I do take that nap at that time, because for me, East Coast, I'm probably up until 1:30, realistically on average. But again, those 2 hours at night, or 3 hours at night are my time to grind. And I'd rather sacrifice the evenings where it's a little bit more seeing people, whether it's going to the gym, more lively, where it's hard to stay focused. But yeah, naps are huge. How about anyone finding time to exercise? I know that's harder because it takes more time out of your day. But Pat, were you exercising at all as a banker? I know a lot of people say when you become a banker,
as a banker, not much.
Pounds, not much.
As a banker, not much. Just so diet's like super important. Stay away from the simple sugars, and unfortunately, Seamless. I don't know if it's still Seamless or Grubhub or whatever. It's tough because you're getting good meals delivered to you every day, every night,
and works paying for it, and works paying for it
every night because you're there past 8 or 9, whatever the cutoff is. So it's tough. You're getting like steak and Thai food and
there's usually that one coworker that tempts you. You try to be healthy, but then there's that one person that's pulling that out the door, and you see the food they're getting and you don't want to grab a salad and be that guy or that girl. Anyways, all right, last topic here, guys, before we wrap it up. So the fourth and final trending topic of the week, Nabil, this one's going to be coming your way here. Feels like I'm being promoted too early. From an outsider, that someone would be like, what do you mean? Like, obviously take the promotion, but obviously there can also be some cons with it, and that was highlighted in the forums as well. So specifically, one individual made reference that he's had 1.5 years in audit, only has done 1 year in consulting, and is already getting thrown into a double promotion, where you typically need about 4 years of experience as a consultant to get. So specifically becoming a senior consultant now. And this is at a top 20 consultancy. So obviously he's questioning, is this a little bit too premature for him? Nabil, what are your thoughts on this here?
I take like a balanced approach. It depends on person. It depends on the team, to be honest. Like if the good thing is, like, if someone trusts you to get promoted, like if whoever your boss thinks you're good enough, then you don't have to worry too much. There's something in you. But then there's the other part where you're like advancing too fast, where you might just crash and burn. Like the pressure might just be too much, especially if you don't know what that new role entails. Like imagine it's more important to ask the right questions, like what would you be doing, and then kind of measure yourself. Honestly, just go back to the drawing room and think, do I have the skill set to take on this new role? And if you don't, like, kind of just avoid it and not take it. But then at the same time, if like you could ask your boss itself, like, be like, hey, what do you think? Like, why do you think I'm gonna fit that role or whatever? And if it's a big firm, usually it's someone vouching for you. So you'd have to find out who's vouching for you, and then probably talk to them. It could be your team leaders, it could be people in your team who probably gave you good ratings. That's how it usually works. So then talk to people and kind of find out what your strengths are and why you would fail if you had to fail, and address those points pretty much.
Do you guys think it looks bad if you decline the promotion? How do you think the optics look on that? Right, because I agree with you, Nabil, right? Like, but my plain devil's advocate here is, also at times businesses, like, they can be cruel. Or what I'm trying to say here is, like, at the end of the day, a lot of people say, employees are just expendable. If they'll fire you the next day, your seat's filled again. And so is this double promotion coming on the back of, they're desperate, they need someone to fill that? And it might not even be that the boss or, the person in charge here really does think you could succeed. They're just thinking, hey, we need to put someone in this seat here. Let's give it a shot. And if you fail, they'll can you and they'll put someone else in the seat there, right? So I've started turning, especially large corporates, that personal or like that that they actually do care for large corporates, I don't think exists. For small businesses, startups, of course it does. I do feel it. So what do you guys think on that? Like, is it bad to say no? And is it even, should you be coming in the angle where you're thinking, you know, they're actually trying to do something good for me, or is it more for their self-interest and the business's self-interest?
I don't know. Sarah, you have an opinion?
I think it's crazy if someone refused to be promoted. Um, I think you just have to work hard and adjust.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough one. I think if you're at a large corporate, it is a little bit more scary. I think what you'd probably want to do, and it's kind of like threading the middle here, is saying, well, you know, I feel like it's a little bit of a reach for me given my skill set. What if we give me 6 months? You know, let me start as a consultant, but can you mentor me and try to find somebody to really kind of hold your hand? Because, you know, theoretically, you know, the job, if you're seeing kind of what the senior associates or senior consultants have already been doing, you know, in a few projects, you know, or a few engagements in consulting, you should be picking up some of that. And usually it's just a little bit more like client facing, a little more interaction. But if you're freaked out and you have no clue what you're doing, for sure, you shouldn't just be like, yeah, I'll take the double promotion. And try to just put it off a little bit. Be like, hey, I think I'd be better served to have a mentor or another senior consultant that's been in the role for 2 or 3 years. Can I shadow them on a few engagements? Can I do all that so that you're kind of starting kind of visualize yourself in terms of what you need to do to manage? Because those roles, those middle manager roles are really hard. They're really hard because you're on top of deliverables, you're on top of managing a junior team suddenly below you.
And then client facing as well.
It's super hard. Yeah. So like you're juggling a lot. So you have to have a lot of different skill sets. It's not just suddenly about like being good in Excel and PowerPoint. And just work.
It's not process driven anymore. Now it's more people skills.
It's both. It's everything. Yeah, it's everything.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. A hybrid of both. Well, I would say this, though, honestly, kudos for this guy, because obviously we come in with a double promotion is probably a lot more money. So at least he's putting some thought right behind it and not just seeing dollar signs and just jumping at it. At least he's being a lot more, you know, methodical and thoughtful with his career. I think always say if you're going to bet on yourself, right? So I mean,
yeah. So Sarah would take it. Sarah would say, "Screw it, just take it," and just try to run as fast as you can.
But then the fact that you have to ask the question also like kind of gets you to the point where you're like, maybe not. That's probably the right answer, just because if you're not confident, you probably are not going to make it.
Because he or she's looking for validation from other people, right? But I think he knows the answer deep down inside.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
It's hard. I mean, you see this in like more lean firm, like larger corporates, like it's tough, but more lean firms were like, for example, when I was at Rothschild, like my associate got fired and suddenly I was, as a first year analyst, I was working like directly with the VP. It's funny, the associate got fired. He was an HBS grad. Like it was a disaster. He thought he was like God's gift and had no banking background, and it was bad news. But yeah, the VP was great. He kind of took me under his wing. He was like basically invested in me to learn, and I you know, my skills just like accelerated. I was able to just churn out a ton more work, help run the deal, not run the deal, but help kind of keep things afloat. Well, and we just basically ran the deal with no associate. So it was a lot of work, but it can be done.
Is that why you had those long hours?
Yeah, I also worked with a specific MD that was notorious for long hours. You know, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. turns for like footnote, like edits to footnotes and commas in the footnotes.
Jeez.
Literally, I was doing calls at 4 a.m. at my cube. He was like, page number 233.
He's probably whispering.
Yeah, he's like,
doesn't want to wake up.
He's at home. He's like, there's kids. Yeah, he's like, footnote number 7. We missed a comma on this word, and I'm like, I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh,
that's brutal. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, I think that was a great convo, guys. Keep this one nice and short here, but nonetheless, appreciate you, Patrick, Sarah, Nabil. It was all great having this conversation, and we'll be back next week, guys.
And thanks to you, my listeners at Wall Street Oasis. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to send them my way, Patrick@wallstreetoasis.com. Until next time.